When the government of a country decides to willfully disregard its own laws, only bad things can follow. All right, so I saw something popping up and I thought at first, that can't be right. That must be some kind of alarmist scaremongering. So I thought, well, let's go check it out. Let's have a look at this situation here. It's from the Business Post. Minister to give residency permits to 17,000 migrants. From Michael Brennan. Scheme to help long-term undocumented people, undocumented being the new flowery term for illegal, including 3,000 children, has strong ministerial support. There's our esteemed Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, and what does she say about it? This is from her own Twitter. There are thousands of people who have created a life in Ireland but still live in the legal shadows, i.e. they're illegal, they're here illegally. They have bypassed the immigration system. We need to show the same generosity to the undocumented, illegal, here as we ask is shown towards our citizens in the same situation elsewhere. Do we ask? Should we ask? She goes on to say, I am now opening a consultation process on my scheme to regularise, i.e. ignore the legalities, to regularise undocumented migrants, illegal migrants in Ireland, ahead of the scheme opening for applications by the end of the year. The details are available here. Alright, so let's hop on over to the Irish Independent and see what they make of it all. This is a story from Senan Maloney. Legal recognition to be granted for nearly 20,000 undocumented illegal in Ireland. And here we go. Right, so Senan says, Ireland is to grant recognition, right to remain, and a path to citizenship for nearly 20,000 undocumented illegal from abroad who are resident here. So basically people who've overstayed visas or come here illegally and they're somehow managed to get into the system and are working and doing various things. So essentially they've just gamed the system. They've jumped the queue, they've bypassed the queue, they've just basically given two fingers to the state and says, your laws? I don't need no laws. I'll just do what I want. He goes on to say, almost all are already in employment, serving the state and economy. How? I don't know. They're illegal. How is that happening? How are they in employment? With the government anxious not to be accused of hypocrisy as it mounts a campaign for favourable treatment of the Irish undocumented in the United States. So if I follow this logic, if there is a logic, the general idea is that if we disregard and ignore and flout our own laws, somehow that's gives us some morality, some moral position to encourage other countries to flout their laws. Am I coming at this right? So basically, we're going to just shelve. You're going to chuck our laws into the bin, and then say, "Hey, America, why don't you do that? Look at us flouting our own laws here. So hey, why don't you flout yours?" Really, we really don't have our best and brightest running the place at all. Honestly, I firmly believe this is a quote. Oh yeah, that's the quote I read. That's Helen McEntee's quote about she believes that we should basically just ignore our own laws and then tell the United States to ignore theirs. The article goes on to say there are thousands of people across the country who have created a life here but unfortunately live in the legal shadows, live here illegally. They are active members of our communities, contributing to our society enriching our culture, always with that enrichment, and working in our economy. I don't know how they're working. If they're illegal, how are they working? She published draft proposals that will grant formal status to the thousands of undocumented here in a new scheme, which she hopes to have in place by the end of the year, assuming the government lasts that long. The newly recognised will have a period of 4 years of residence in the state without an immigration permission. So they didn't arrive last week. These people have been gaming the system for years. Or 3 years in the case of those with children. To be granted an immigration permission that allows for unrestricted access to the labour market. Seemingly they have, according to this already. Or have years of residence with that permission reckonable for the purposes of pursuing Irish citizenship by way of naturalisation. So they're just going to basically sweep it all under the mat and pretend like it's nothing to see here. The key planks of the scheme fully meet the requests from many campaigners. Well, of course they do, because that's how our government is run. It's run by lobbyists lobbying them for all their pet projects. And if these pet projects are woke and have the right kind of feels attached to them, then the government just basically gives in and says, yep, that sounds like a good plan. It will also in time guard against the exploitation of these workers, who are believed to number 17,000. Recent research from Migrants' Rights Council of Ireland. I wonder what their take on the whole thing was. And justice for the undocumented. So basically two groups whose whole raison d'etre is to get this passed. So I wonder what they had to say about it. Obviously, completely unbiased take on the whole thing. You'll see. Shows that over 3/4 of undocumented illegal migrants surveyed have been living in Ireland for 5 years or more. The same detailed survey and analysis reveals that 93% are in employment. How? How are they in employment? If they're not here legally, if they have no legal status, who's employing them? How are they employed? You can't just, to my understanding, just rock up and just get a job. You've got to have like a PPS number. You've got to have all kinds of official documentation. You can't just say start Monday and who are you? I don't know, Johnny Phillips. Like, no, you have to have actual documentation. You can't just do that in Ireland. It's not 1820. You need a lot of stuff to have employment here. It's not haphazard. Yet more than 1/4 of these workers are receiving less than the minimum wage for their work, and almost half are working beyond 40 hours a week. Who are they working for? Is the problem I'm seeing here. Who is employing them at less than the minimum wage? And why aren't the people who are employing them being prosecuted? The whole thing is a crock. The whole thing is just... So rather than deal with that absolute shit show, the government's just going to just say, listen, all you people, you were illegal yesterday and tomorrow we'll just make you all legal, so it's all fixed. No, these people, they really just don't understand the law of consequences. If you do one thing, other things are bound to follow. It's just how the world works. Jumping over to Gript here, this is from Gary Kavanagh. Minister McEntee today announced proposals for a scheme which would allow legal immigrants, at least they worded it right, to regularise their immigration status and begin a path to citizenship. The Department of Justice say they expect to begin accepting applications by the end of the year. We already know that. The proposals laid out by the Minister, blah, we got that. It'll give them unrestricted access to the labour market. Their previous illegal entry into and or residence in the country would not be held against them should they later seek to become an Irish citizen. Why? Why shouldn't it be held against them? So basically people who have been shown to have little or no regard for Ireland's laws, Ireland's legal system, Ireland's immigration system, Ireland's employment system. People who have been verifiably shown to not give a toss about all that are the perfect people we should grant citizenship to? It would seem so. Minister McEntee said that there are thousands of people. Okay, we got that. She added she firmly believes Ireland must show the same generosity again, so as we can tell other countries that they should break their own laws too, because look at us, we're doing it. The scheme, if enacted in its current form, would effectively serve as a near blanket amnesty for illegal immigrants in the country. Critics have long argued that such amnesties increase illegal immigration and undermine the rule of law. Well, yes, of course it does. Absolutely it does. But in this age of instant communication, you're standing in the queue at Tesco for the checkout, and the person behind you is chatting away on their phone. Nothing strange there, says you. But the person could be chatting to somebody in Mongolia. That's modern communication. You can chat to somebody in Botswana for the same cost as chatting to somebody who's just out in the car park. It's the same. Instant communication. Things like this are instantly communicated all around the world. I don't understand why does this not occur to anyone? It doesn't occur to them because they don't care. It's not going to affect them. They don't care. It feels good. It's an emotive thing. It's run on emotion. There's no logic here. As soon as they regularise these 20,000, 30,000 will be in the next few years, and then we're going to have the same problem. There's nothing solved. This doesn't solve the problem. You're basically showing people that all you have to do is jump the queue, bypass the immigration system, wait it out, and the government's going to roll over because it's a weak, ineffectual government, and the politicians in Ireland run on emotions. Doesn't matter the rights and wrongs of the thing. If it feels good, it sounds good, yeah, fine. Chuck the law in the bin. Doesn't matter. That seems to be the modus operandi. The scheme, if enacted, effectively it's blanket amnesty. It's uncertain how many illegal immigrants currently live in Ireland, nor how this scheme would impact on that number. It's just going to make it worse. This is human nature. This is Darwin's law of evolution. This is human nature. You encourage wrongdoing, you encourage illegal immigration, illegal undocumented people to come in and work in the society. They will come. Tell you where it won't happen, and tell you where they won't go. They won't go to China, and they won't go to Russia. They won't go to Hungary. They won't go to Poland. Why? Because they're not drinking this Kool-Aid. No point in going there. You might go there and get away with it for a while, but eventually the government will find you and the government will get rid of you. But they will come here because our government is so ineffectual and so weak. They'll just have to wait it out and they'll just get rolled over. And they'll just be given full legal status. Having completely given the two fingers to the country they're getting legal status in. Makes no sense. The whole thing is a nonsense. Minister McEntee and Minister of State James Brown, not the soul singer, no, he's dead, will hold a meeting with NGOs in Ireland, one for everybody in the country. NGOs, civil society, employer and organisations, trade unions and other key stakeholders, i.e. everybody except the general public. Those stakeholders, i.e. not the general public, will be given an opportunity to provide written submissions to the Minister after that meeting, but it does not appear that members of the public will be allowed to take part in the consultation of the scheme, because the general public doesn't want this, and they know it. Just as to finish up, I thought John McGurk put it quite well when he said, there is in Ireland, this is a quote from John McGurk, there is in Ireland a law against stealing cars. If you steal someone's car, you're liable to be arrested, prosecuted, and, if convicted, either fined or sent to prison. That's true. If the Gardaí recover the car you stole, it will be returned to the original owner. So imagine, John goes on, for a moment, how people might react if the government simply announced that it was too difficult for the Gardaí to prosecute people for stealing cars, and that they would instead institute an amnesty policy under which anyone who had stolen a car or had been caught would simply be allowed to keep the car they stole. Does that sound sensible? No, not to any rational, normal, right-thinking person. Of course it doesn't. If you promote wrongdoing, don't be in any way surprised if you get more of the same wrongdoing. If there are employers out there who are willfully exploiting these people, paying them, as the previous article said, less than the minimum wage, and treating them badly, getting them to work extra hours, find those employers and prosecute those employers. That's the law. It's already in the law. If you don't, and you just legalise the people they were exploiting, so next day that person goes and says, oh, I've just got my papers, I'm now legal, I'm now an Irish person just like you, or whatever the person might be. So that employer, that unscrupulous employer, then says, oh, well, that's awkward, and so that means you want me to pay you the full whack. Yes, that's exactly how that goes. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to let you go. So they get rid of all the people they were scamming, these previously illegal workers. They shunt all them out, get on the phone to whoever their friendly neighbourhood people trafficker is, and say, yeah, that didn't work out too well, I need 5 more. So then the whole thing starts again. And not that Helen McEntee and her compatriots will care. They know they're going to be gone. They're going to be drop-kicked out of government in the next election anyway. None of these things ever affect the people who enact them. They never affect them. It's not going to in any way impinge on them. They're going to be out of government soon. Sinn Féin will be in next time. They'll be left with the problem. In 5 years, 6 years, 10 years' time, we'll be back here, exactly the same place, except it won't be 20,000 or 17,000, it'll be 40,000, maybe it'll be 50,000. Because when something like this happens, the world notices. The people who have an interest in this kind of thing, they watch this, they see how it goes. And don't think for 1 second this is going to solve anything. It's not. If anything, it's only going to make it worse.